Hello, how are you today? I hope you're quite fine. Now, I'm so excited this evening as I talk to you. I'm just coming to an end of a book that is going to cover excerpts, about 20 excerpts from Fathers of Nations and 20 excerpts from The Samaritan. The book will also cover essays, 20 from The Samaritan and 20 from Fathers of Nations. So, for those of you who have been asking whether there is a book that really has questions and answers, now it's time that you pay attention because I'm going to release this book very soon. I've written with some colleagues who have contributed, maybe through discussions, and some of them just through working out on what I've done. Normally, I don't do it alone, but I found it so difficult to work with a group because normally, when you're working with a group, you have so many challenges. Like your dreams are not the dreams of the rest, and therefore, some people can make your work so difficult. And again, when you're working with a group, you have to really have a lot of meetings together. Even starting up something becomes a really challenge. Then it comes to now getting to customers. Again, you realize some people, you really maybe just force them into this, but they are not into it. Now, I'm going to talk about the current books that are almost uh, going to lose value among students. Yeah, so I was talking about the books that are almost being defaced from the candidates who are sitting this year. And so we have inheritance. When you look at inheritance, it doesn't have much, but you have to dig deep into the story so that you give the background information around a question that you are asked. Now, for the years it has been said, or the questions I've seen around the internet, or even which I think should be said or would be said from this book, it's about what goes around comes round. Yeah, so you look at the aspect of doing bad to others and how it can really come down to you. So look at the leaders within this book and what happens to them later as per what they did before. If you have to also check at this book, consider the aspect that greed does not really pay. And as I told you yesterday, when you check at this is about decisions and consequences. What decisions do the leaders in the text make, or certain characters, and how do they impact on them? You also look at the aspect of selfishness and the effect it has on others and self. It is well shown in this book. If you look at this book also, you generally see bad leadership or bad governance and how it affects the citizens within a situation where the leaders decide to be selfish. Poor governance is unfolded through either amassing wealth for self. There is that aspect of where destroying others either through murder or, grabbing some of the property like land from them and even making their life quite difficult, and how it impacts on the citizens. Now, all that comes back to the characters who do it. And so, if you follow that quite well, where they began, how they proceeded, and how they affected the character, obviously you'll score good marks. Now, candidates, you must always know that we expect an essay 6 paragraphs from you, introductory paragraph which is either contextualized or whereby you are giving a general illustration about the question. Then we expect the 4 body paragraphs that are discussing the question in different aspects. Yeah. So if you're talking about greed, for example, it can unveil in various ways. Greed for wealth, greed for land, greed, even for having many women, and even greed for money can come in various forms. Yeah, greed for power. So you establish how a character began to show this greed, what they did to satisfy their greed, and the consequence it brings either to themselves or to the citizens. Then, if you're looking at a book which is new, An Artist of the Floating World, I know many people don't like this book, but I'm very confident and optimistic that this year that book will be the easiest. Yeah. And I'm looking at this book because it contains war. And so obviously I know the effects of war can be one of the aspects that can come in an exam. Now it can't come directly and they're asking you about effects of war, but they'll tell you maybe war has disheartening consequences. Using An Artist of the Floating World, explore this. And therefore you have to look at the war in terms of how it affected Ono as a person psychologically. Yeah. You can also look at how war affected people like the daughters and even the sons in-laws of Ono. Yeah. Look at the physical consequences, like having the lame people, the death. So establish how many people die and in which situations they die, and then explore this consequence. Look at the physical destruction of property, like the town itself. How does it come to be? Pleasure district, and such things to do with the general environment. Yeah. Look at the hotels or the Kawakami's place and all that, and how it was affected. Then look at the culture. War comes, and therefore, generally art and what people used to fancy, they no longer fancy. So if you look at the book, you will really establish so much about war. And now, put those consequences into different areas. Now, I expect you as a candidate, you should know that you should have a conclusion in your essay. And the conclusion is whereby you are telling us, so what? We have listened to all that you have done. So what? Yeah. So look at the other aspect of An Artist of the Floating World is about, like even when situations are too bad, we just have to keep having hope and live. And so you look at various characters and how hope really makes them go on, Ono being one of them. Yeah. Look at Noriko. Yeah. And go through other characters who have really seen the worst of it in the text, and through a hope they picked. Even Japan itself in general, we are told by the author that it had really sunk. But after war, what happened? There was hope among many people, including Dr. Saito's son, who later marries Noriko, and things pick. Yeah. I want you to also look at this book in terms of how the author, or the narrator rather, tries to distance himself from the ills that he had practiced or what he had known, and pretends to be talking about the other. That is a kind of style that is explored to hide the aspect that someone has possibly practiced. So as I told you again yesterday, go back to the characters, those whom you desire, those whom you loathe, and why do you loathe them or desire them? What choices do they make that are the best for the society, and what are the consequences or rewards of that? And what worst choices do they make, and how do they affect people around them? Yeah. Talk about culture and the difference between the old and new generation in the text An Artist of the Floating World. Compare Ono and the daughters. Compare Ono and that is the grandchild. Compare before war and present situations. Look at the art itself and how now the current generation look at it. Even the construction of the pleasure district after war and before war. Yeah. And what did the old people fancy? What about the new? What is the belief about art, and what about the new? Yeah. There is also an aspect about art. If you have to succeed in art, you have to really strive and focus. Yeah. It is through determination and confidence that you can make it in art. That is another aspect that is explored in An Artist of the Floating World. And there are so many, many areas that we'll keep working on. There is the other book is Blossoms of the Savannah, which is compulsory. already I told you yesterday about questions like help comes when least expected. The bond between Rosian and Tayo really helps them to overcome much in life. Determination and hope gives us achievement. There is an aspect about Emma Carrere is a voice of reason in this text. There is a question about that is a sacrifice is rewarding. Yeah, choices have consequences, and so many questions. I will always keep working and sharing with you. And if you have a question, this is the time to ask, by the way, because if you're approaching cases and you have questions about Blossoms of the Savannah, an artist of the floating world, inheritance, or any other related to literature or English, feel free to do so, because that is why we are there. Bye bye for now. And if you have not clicked on the notification bell so that you can see future videos, why are you waiting? Go forth and click it. Now, if you have had friends who want to learn more, don't be selfish. Share with them these videos. And I'm not just doing for my own purpose. Teaching has an aspect of seeing others, grow. I would wish later on to see somebody else having shared maybe a video saying I inspired them, and that is why I'm doing this. So share as much as you can, make comments, and you can also react and ask questions. That's what I want. So welcome to Edutainment for Us, and thank you for watching. See you next in another video that is exploring more on exams, because that's what I'm doing this season. Bye bye for now.